Hey guys, so I am back. It feels like I haven't made a video in such a long time. I know I haven't posted in a while, already not really following me with my YouTube goals, but I've also been on a trip to Costa Rica for 3 weeks. So the past videos you guys have seen of me have been pre-recorded for the month of January. So this is like the first video I've filmed in almost 4, maybe 5 weeks. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to be back in front of the camera. And so the first one I have for you today is my January wrap up. I know this is coming pretty late, but I still wanted to share with you guys what I got through in the month of January, because I feel pretty happy about how much I read that month. This month, February, not getting too much read, but I will also talk about what I am currently reading. So yeah, let's get started. So the first book that I got through the month of January was The Rook by Sharon Cameron. And I've had this book on my TBR for a very long time. Like since I started BookTube, it was one of the first books I bought to kind of like start reading, to read for BookTube, and then just never got around to reading it. So yeah, I finally decided to read it, and I'm pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed it. It's basically about like a dystopian world that happens in the future, but the progress of the world has kind of regressed to a more like Victorian age. So there's not electricity or anything like that, and everything that we had from our current life, they don't really know how to. So like they mention things like video games or like video game controllers, but they have no idea what they're used for and that sort of thing. So it's pretty cool for that. So it takes place like in Paris and England, kind of in a regressed like Victorian kind of a like setting. So the girl, there's like a dictatorship being ruled in Paris, and it's kind of giving nods to the French Revolution, which I thought was pretty cool. But so this girl named the Rook is kind of trying to help these people in prison escape, and then she meets a guy and it kind of goes from there. But it was really interesting. I feel like I really enjoyed this book. I feel like it was probably made, it's young adult, so made for maybe a younger audience than me, but I felt like I really enjoyed that it had those connections to history. I really didn't enjoy the main character very much, but I really liked the male lead in this book. I can't remember his name, but he was very charismatic, funny, sarcastic, and I really liked him. I think he was a very good character, and I feel like this book has a lot of twists and turns that you're not expecting, which made it very interesting to read. I got through it pretty quickly, so if you have not read this book and you're really interested in like dystopian YA with a little hint of historical fiction, I wouldn't say it's like exactly historical fiction, but it definitely brings in those kind of touches. This is definitely a book for you. So the next book that I finished was I'm Judging You, A Do Better Manual by Luvi Ajayi. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. There is even, she makes rants about how people mispronounce her name, so can't entirely remember, but I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it, but I will put it down here too. So this book is kind of like a commentary on a lot of different things in our current society. It talks about race, rape culture, politics a little bit, and it's kind of like a mixture of social media as well, and she's kind of just bringing her own input and just like basically judging us, and she judges herself as well, but it's kind of just like commenting on our society today. And she has like this really interesting humor that I really enjoy. It kind of reminds me of one of my best friends, so that's why I really enjoyed this book. I felt like my friend was reading this book to me as I was going along, but she has like a very, very strong voice. It definitely comes out in this book. The only thing is I feel like the essays were very interesting, but I don't feel like they gave any new kind of information. It's all kind of what we've already know about the problems with social media, the problems about race, the problems about like rape in our society and how females are portrayed in that situation. And while it was nice reading it from her perspective, she did offer a few different angles to it, which I enjoyed. It's kind of like nothing new to me. but I really liked the book. And I also feel like it could have been two different books where Lovey kind of talks about different friendships that she gets annoyed with, different people, different like social media like ticks that annoy her, and then it goes more, and then it's a separate part that goes more into like deeper issues like race, or her talking about being African in America and sort of that stuff. So I feel like it gets very serious towards the end of the book, and I feel maybe that should have been a different book because the first part of the book is very lighthearted. But aside from that, I feel like she's a really interesting writer. I love her voice. I will probably be checking out her blog and just really getting to know Lovey and the kind of stuff she talks about because I think she's really funny. But yeah, I think I ended up giving it a 3 out of 5 stars though, just because it's not really anything I haven't heard before, but it just kind of has her take on it and her humorous style. So if you're interested in like learning more, if you're trying to get like an introductory guide, I guess, I feel like this would be a good place to start. So I also read The Bird and the Sword by Amy Harmon, and I had this book on my e-reader for a while, heard a lot of great things about this author and the story in particular, so I figured why not check it out. I was kind of disappointed about this book. I think it starts off really strong. Like, I love the introduction of this world, this kind of like mythology that is created. It's amazing. Like, it's beautifully written. So essentially, this book follows a girl that can do magic. She's called a teller, which means she can basically speak spells in a way and encourage mostly inanimate objects to do things. So if she like tells a cart to move, it'll move for her. So these magical beings aren't really respected in the community. They're thought as dangerous. So her mother is also a teller and puts a curse kind of on her that she's not allowed to speak anymore to protect her from getting caught by the people that are trying to get rid of these magical people. So she goes her life not being able to speak, and then encounters the king, who takes her as a ransom for her father type of deal. And then, you know, love story kind of ensues. The really big issue that I had with this book was the king. He was very misogynistic, and he's not what I would consider to be romantic or charming in any way. Like, he just threw me off, and I couldn't really get on with the plot because I wasn't interested in the male lead. I also was not really interested in the female. She just felt very like weak. She kind of just did everything he said, and she talked a lot of game like she was strong and independent and stubborn, but honestly she just kept on giving in to what he wanted and doing as he told her to do. And it was not like, I'm all for like having those gushy like romantic books, and I feel like this was trying to be that, but I couldn't get into it because I was not attracted to either one of these characters. I felt like their relationship was pretty toxic, and I don't know if that was something that the author was trying to comment on, or if this was just supposed to be like a good love relationship. I'm not really sure, but that's the biggest issue that I had with this book. And I can't really tell whether or not this kind of sexist male character was intentional, so I can't really judge the book based on that character, because if it was intentional, then it's completely different. But if it was, I guess, her idea of what a charming king should be like, I think that's pretty sad. I don't know, I just was not a fan. Yeah, so I think this is a series I probably won't be continuing on with it, but I mean, I think it had some really great key parts. I really loved the world, and I think the story really had some potential, but I just really could not do the story. So yeah, not for me. So the last book that I read was The Mothers by Britt Bennett, and I have to say, this is going to be probably one of the best books that I've read this year. I can already tell. It's so fantastic. I've heard a lot of great things about this book. Was kind of iffy about going into it with these high expectations, but they were completely met and like over. I'm just so excited about this author, and this book is just amazing. Basically, it follows a girl named Nadia who gets into a relationship her senior year. Well, the summer after her senior year of high school, with this football player, or past football player, that's a couple years older than her. They get into a relationship. She ends up getting pregnant, and that kind of story ensues from there. And I absolutely love it. I feel like the way she portrays these characters is so amazing. The majority of the characters are African American in this book, and I feel like she does a great job of just portraying the normal, just a typical African American. There isn't a lot that deals with, I mean, race is definitely a thing in this book, but it's not like the core feature of this book, which I find to be amazing. I feel like when you have books that are centralized around people of color, usually the theme of the book is expressing inequality or race, but this is not the case in that book. And I don't think those books are wrong or bad, but I feel like this is just refreshing to get a book that's about normal, mundane people. I mean, obviously the things that they go on in this book are not necessarily normal to everyone, but it's just what happens in life. I think that's such a great portrayal of that side of like African American people in general. So the story in a way is kind of told by these like group of elders in this church community, and I love that kind of perspective. I don't know, the whole church part of this book was really interesting, and how that played a really central role in this book. And I loved the characters. I thought they were very interesting, and I don't know, it was just amazing. Like, I'm really a big fan of books that don't have happy endings or are very kind of ambiguous, even though I want to know what happens. I feel like that kind of reflects my own writing in a way, and I feel like this book, while it ended in a frustrating way, it was perfect. Like, I wouldn't change anything about this book. I absolutely love it. I believe I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, or maybe 4. This has such a good story, and that everyone literally should be reading this book. It definitely has something more than I was expecting. It's like an adult love story, but it's talking about people that are pretty young still, but I feel like they were kind of my age at a certain time. Like, it goes through this girl's life up until she's 30. I think she ends when it's like 30, when she's 30. So it kind of delves into a time that my age, so I feel like I had that connection. I could really relate to the book, but I just absolutely loved it, and I really want everyone to read this book. Let me know what you guys got through in the month of January if you want to, or what are you guys currently reading? I'd love to know. I'm kind of looking for some ideas to start reading next. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.